All right, I am going to call this regular session meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. First order of business is pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
First speaker.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
Yes, you can be on the board. What would you like us to do?
All right, I move to approve the regular session minutes of May 2nd. So moved.
Second.
Vote?
Yes.
Yes. I also move to approve the special session minutes of May the 12th.
Second.
Vote?
Yes. I abstain. I will do special session.
It's okay, Mary took care of it.
Okay, we have a special speaker or a speaker, a special speaker.
Can Russ hear us? We can't hear him. Russ is
You're on mute, Russ.
Can you hear me?
You're all set to go.
Can you hear us?
Oh,
Oh,
nobody.
he's back on mute.
Sorry, there we go. Good evening, board.
Want to give a little introduction first?
Sure. This is Russ Trevally, the deputy assistant chief for Genoa Township. And Dan Edwards, he's leads up their civilian advisory board. Chet mentioned last week that we would try and get them on today to kind of explain their process and how they went about setting up and what they do for Genoa Township. And we really appreciate you both being here.
Happy to be here.
Gentlemen, we've discussed this topic ever since I think we had a call with Paul, and we got a little information from him in regards to how this board was set up, its responsibilities, and the role that it kind of played in when you were having your initial conversations about a new police building, and what that looked like, and the involvement that you all brought to the table, I guess, in those conversations. And that kind of got us started thinking about the fact that a board such as this would be invaluable to us, even if, because one, we're talking about renovation or building or whatever, a new facility, but more importantly than the long term, we think about garnering additional support from the community when it comes to levies and things such as that. We have been very blessed by our community in the sense that I don't know that our levies requests have ever been turned down. In fact, we look sometimes in the 80–90% tile range as far as approval in many regards. So we do appreciate that support, but we also understand that we have to take some responsibility also going forward to ensure that support continues at that level. And it takes a lot of communication and engagement with the community. And although the board and staff are very engaged with the community, it helps to have additional voices talking to us about what the community is thinking, what they're talking about. So in their lives, we'd like a better understanding about maybe, again, how you set this up, its role, and what you see as the attributes.
Sure, I'd be happy to start, and then I'll let Dan speak. But as you said, I'm assistant chief with Genoa Township Police Department. We have had a Citizens Police Advisory Committee for about 17 or 18 years now. So a lot of forward thinking from our previous chief, Bob Taylor, who put it together back in 2004, right in that range. And I've been with the township since 1995, so a lot of changes obviously have taken place over the years. But the committee itself was just very forward thinking and involving our community to get involved in minor things such as uniform changes, for example, or major things such as the police building, which our CPAC or Citizens Police Advisory Committee have been very involved with from the very start. So the great part is you take a wide variety and a diverse variety of your community, put them together in a group, and they get the opportunity to speak on behalf of the township and the township residents to help you decide, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Or are we in between? It has been a blessing for us and nothing but positive. So in regards to actually starting the CPAC, there's a process and a handbook, which I sent over, that discusses sort of process of developing it. Obviously, we have to advertise in some format to say, hey, we're looking to build or create this committee. Do we have interest? Our trustees will sometimes interview the candidates before they're actually put on the board. Sometimes they will not. They may have such a history or a background that they say, oh, this person's great. Well, they can go right on. So within our handbook, it gives guidelines on whether they interview, how they interview, and then the process to get them put on the board. It also talks about the directives and how to run the meeting minutes, how to keep the public records so you're above board with everything you're doing. But quite frankly, for us, it's been a blessing and nothing but positive things. And Dan, you can certainly add to that.
Yeah, I think that really what I would add is the beauty of the committee right now is its diversity and really how we all came to the township as well. For me, for instance, I moved back here after I retired from the Marine Corps in 2012, and then joined the committee in 2014 or 2015. But we've got 20-year residents, 30-year residents of the township, as well as new as 4 or 5 years in the township. And when we're dealing with any of the issues that the department is facing, it's nice to be able to have a pretty good cross section and a pretty good a number of perspectives to be able to present to the department leadership to help them make decisions. And in a lot of cases, I think we're really just here to give our opinions and allow the leadership to make solid decisions.
So I think that was maybe one concern, and maybe if you could kind of set us straight on this. This group is not a replacement of the Board of Trustees. I mean, they're making recommendations based upon information that they bring to the table, but also information that they may be asking ultimately staff for in regards to certain issues. But they're just simply giving a recommendation to the Board of Directors, or excuse me, the Board of Trustees.
That's correct. And the nice part is that you have that diverse group that can come in front of the board and help the board understand why they think it's a good decision for the community. So, when the board is maybe looking at an issue that they're not sure about, the Police Advisory Committee can come forward and sort of give an idea of how they feel and how the people in their communities feel about a project, such as, speaking about the building itself, why that project's important, why they think it's important to the community. And again, our police building, which was a $7 million bond levy that passed at almost 70%, was due mostly in part to that Police Advisory Committee that kept coming to the table and saying, look, this is what these folks need to continue this professionalism and the things that they do. This is a very important issue. And I think they were, again, a very important piece of the reason that building exists today. So
Hey, this is Jim Roper. I'm sure it changes from time to time, but what's the ideal number range for people on that committee?
our committee, I think, is maxed out at 15. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but 15 is the maximum, just so we don't have too many people involved. And so we set a limit at 15 persons.
Having that limit, I think, is a reasonable number because, we meet every other month throughout the year. The likelihood that we get 15 people show up for a meeting is pretty rare, actually, to have everybody available at the same time for a month. So with a number like 15, we consistently have a quorum that are able to attend the meeting and be able to present their perspectives.
What's Genoa Township's population right now?
We're currently at approximately 27,000. Again, like I said, I started in 95. We were at 4,700 at that point. So there's been quite a change in regards to the township itself, as well as the way we police. So there's been a lot of changes from 4,500, but currently 27,000 is about correct.
I would think regardless of size, you can't have a committee that's only like 4 or 5 people because you're going to get a pretty narrow perspective. And I would think anything over 12 to 15, recognize you're not going to have everybody participate at every meeting. It's just almost unworkable. The numbers are too big and you got too many people with too many opinions and it's just hard to corral that. I was thinking in my head, this would be probably 10, 12 or so, but yours is close enough where, like I said, I think if it's a single digit number, it's just too small, but you don't want to be much bigger than you guys are. I don't think.
And it's not only the perspective itself, it's the matter, as Dan said, the turnout. If you had 5 people, for example, and 3 of them can't make it that evening, you've got 2 people speaking. That's not helpful. So 15 for us was a very good number, and it works out very well. We have anywhere from 8 to 12 that show up at the meetings. Sometimes we'll have a full meeting of the full 15, depending on what issue or what topic may come up. We found that was a very good number for us.
Do you guys have any civic associations in your we've got 2 big communities in our neighborhood, both have pretty active civic associations. I think at one point we were talking about having a slot where, maybe the president of the civic association would be sort of a guaranteed member, since they meet on a regular basis for Worthington Hills or, the bigger neighborhoods in our township. Do you guys do anything like that at all?
We do. So we not only involve our CPAC, but in the case of most recently the flock safety cameras that we have put in place, we involved our Genoa Township Business Association as well, because their opinions mattered. Obviously, they own businesses in the township, and the issue of these cameras that provide photographs to deal with possible criminal issues and track vehicles that might be committing crimes in the township was very important to them. So we thought, their opinion also mattered a great deal. The Business Association, as well as the Citizens Police Advisory Committee, both appeared at the trustee meeting and were very positive about the camera system, and therefore we got a positive vote. So we do involve other civic associations if they're, if it matters to them in some form, which it does. Also, several block watches that we involved with that program, because obviously that involves their neighborhoods as well.
You said that they meet on a monthly basis, is that correct?
Every other month.
Bi-monthly.
Okay. Do they get paid? And if so, what is the rate that you pay them?
No, this is a voluntary position.
Do they meet at the township hall?
Now we meet in the police station. Before we got the station built, we were actually meeting in the fire department training room.
So this is Beth. I had a question, because if I remember right, Paul said that y'all not only come to the board and kind of voice the opinion says, but you also get involved with the communities as like for your police station, kind of explaining to everyone why this was needed for the police department. Is that pretty much a normal routine, not just being an advisory for the board, but getting the communications out?
Yeah, I mean, the communication for the board member has to work both ways, where you're getting feedback from your community and the people that you're representing, as well as making sure that everyone that you interact with understands what the department does. And we do that different ways. Some of it's interaction with homeowners associations. The department actually has a really active Facebook page that we're able to interact with and share items and things like that as well. But really the communication has to work both ways.
The Facebook page has been extremely important. We have about 19,000 followers, and a lot of those are residents, obviously, that want to be involved, and a lot of the activities that involved this bond levy for the station, we kept the community involved a lot through Facebook, on top of the other things we did. So that was a very important thing, the social media platform that helped us, as well as everything else that we did.
Gentlemen, did you see this platform as a benefit to your civic associations, HOAs, to have a networking opportunity for them as well? I mean, to better understand. I think sometimes parts of our community, people will believe that the community in which they live in is the township per se, and it's not the community 5 miles down the road or whatever. But they begin to understand kind of the holistic part of what the township is and what other people are doing in other parts of the township as best management practices kind of thing.
Definitely. I think we met with many individual HOAs who eventually all came together as a group based on, different things that we were talking about. Again, the police building, the flock cameras, those were things that we brought individually to their neighborhoods, but they also understood the big picture of other neighborhoods and the importance that it brought to them. So involving them one-on-one and also bringing everybody together on the same page was very important.
Questions?
Sounds like a wonderful program.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. We appreciate your input.
Absolutely. If we can do anything else, please feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to speak with any of you on any of the topics.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, board. Take care.
My question was, how many residents do they have?
I just heard it start sometime.
Public comment period. Brookside? Hearing none, Michelle's not gonna be here. She got tied up. Worthington Hills,
Chief, thank you for the officers on Saturday for the garage sale. And I think that was it. I missed the last Civic Association meeting, but Eric was there.
Yes.
So thank you for having him pitch in.
Oh, yeah, not a problem.
Epcot Ravello.
There's a meeting this week.
This week, Thursday at 9.
Okay.
I have not heard, I asked the president if they needed any representation from the township, and I have not heard anything from
Okay.
her.
And I talked to Ann, and I'm gonna have lunch with her next Monday, just to chat and have a conversation. We have an agenda item, I don't think we do, but just more or less listening. And I know, you were just down there doing an inventory of the roadway.
How'd that go?
I walked the streets with Ann. The HOA had some concerns about the curbs and cracking and then cracking in the street. Cracking in the street is where that RCC, the roller compacted concrete, has saw cuts, and that's reflected through. I'm gonna meet with Dave and Brian Daughtery from EPCON Wednesday and kind of just walk these streets and get their thoughts. I'd like to have them crack seal the streets, especially these joints. And then there's some areas of curbs that's concerning where they're starting to crack.
Is all that under warranty though?
We do have a year warranty from what I understand.
That's just crazy. Your cracks in it already. You know, I mean, this is.
Well, these are pretty good saw cuts that they have to put in that concrete base.
Right.
And that's gonna reflect through real quick on that. I'm hoping it's a 2-inch overlay and it's down there, but. Yeah, so it's just 1.5 inches.
Anything else under public comment? Zoning. Results of the May 10th BZA hearing.
Yes, we had an applicant that had requested a conditional use and a couple variances. There were several folks from his community here that were concerned about having a second entrance into that property. So he rescinded his request for the conditional use, but he did obtain his variances that he needed. Next month, we'll have another BZA hearing for the home that's just north of EPCON. They have a conditional use permit request in, and we had to push out to the different county soil and water and engineer's office and planning to see if they had any comments. But we only heard back from soil and water, so I can start moving forward with that.
Can we add to that list of technical groups? I know when we had talked to the city of Columbus, when the trees went beat in.
I reached out to them and got nothing back. I actually tried reaching out by phone and then email.
Do you have a specific person or
No, all I could
Okay.
find was a general.
when is that BZA hearing? Do you
It's
know?
not until the second Tuesday of June, so there's months
Okay,
or a month.
okay.
Anything else on BZA meeting?
No, not on that.
Okay. For us tonight, we have a text amendment for zoning. It's for the property on Henderson. That is a redevelopment of 2 acres over there. I think it's 23 single-family homes. So we are moving to pass the resolution tonight to move it to Planning Commission so they can have a public hearing on it. So I will move. I move to initiate resolution number 158-RZ-22 to initiate an amendment to the zoning resolution certified to change as a zoning amendment to the zoning commission for public hearing. I so move.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to add that our attorney Pete Briggs has provided me with a timeline and the notification, so I'll get that process started tomorrow.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
Sure.
Is Joe on tonight?
I thought he was going to call in, but
Okay. He's not on the Zoom.
I'm looking now.
Okay.
No, he's not here.
All right. Road department.
I've submitted a requisition form for the concrete spot repairs up in Worthington Hills. I'm gonna ask for approval to contract Decker Construction to replace 480 foot of curb and gutter. They were the lowest bid to come in, and I think from the work we've seen in the past from Decker, they do a good job on the concrete work. Theirs came in 10,000 lower than everybody.
This was the first reading. Right.
This is the first reading, yes.
Right, and I just want to add, we've kind of had conversations just so that the board knows that you're not married to having to go to the second reading. If everyone is good with the first, feel free to approve or deny, but the second reading in our minds is more so if there's any questions or more information that needs to come up, then there's time for both sides to be able to do that and make sure the board has all the information they need.
And something we didn't think about in that process, some of these quotes are only good for a certain period
30
of time.
days. Yeah, that's something I actually mentioned today.
Yeah, I mean, under this, I mean, we're familiar with Decker, obviously they're a little bit, so it's a kind of a win-win. I mean, I'm comfortable tonight making the motion to approve that. So if everybody's good with doing it, we can do it. You want to make a motion?
Then I move to authorize a contract with Decker Construction for not to exceed, can we say 25, just a nice round, not to exceed $25,000 for the purpose of concrete curb and gutter work.
I'll second. Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Real
Thank
quick, speaking of curb and gutter, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I went for a walk around the circle this week. That one just south of Circle on the Green on Clubview, that sewer is like,
It's on the plan to be. I saw it get worse today.
that's a pretty big,
It'll be replaced
hazard.
here. Yeah, I'll get better cones on it. I saw it this afternoon.
Yeah.
We were running by.
Is this the one that-
Radar signs.
in front of the club, or is this?
No, this is about 100 feet, I guess, would be south of the four-way stop on Clubview, south of Circle on the Green.
Okay,
It's before you get to Mission Hills, Singing Hills.
okay,
On the west side.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on the,
about
it's on the
3
west
houses,
side.
4
It's on the west
houses from
side.
Circle
Yep.
on the Green.
okay.
Yeah.
It's like the whole thing's
Well,
collapsing.
it was just a couple rows of bricks underneath, but this last rain just,
Right.
I saw today, it washed it pretty good. And we've got a few of those that we got.
But that's the worst, I think.
It is the worst right now, yeah. And then I had an email from Swap for G's come in kind of last minute today. And I need to have the letter in by May 27th. I'd like a motion to authorize myself to enter into an agreement with Swap for G's to purchase up to 400 tons. They need to know if we're interested in going into bid with them.
Do we need to take the 400 or we're just,
No, the good thing with Swap for G's, there's no limit. We don't have to take
okay,
all of it if we don't use it.
okay,
Like this year, we did 500 tons last year. We only used 300.
okay,
On ODOTs, we would have to take 90%.
okay, right, cool.
Mr. Chairman, I move to authorize the road superintendent to enter into an agreement with Swap for G to purchase up to 400 tons of rock salt for the 2022-23 season.
Second. Vote. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's gonna be a very mild winter anyway.
I hope so. I hope so.
Farm Almanac.
My sources are close.
Fire and EMS.
They had the sound alarm up in the Worthington Hills area. I first I wanted to thank Mary for going and participating in that and helping everyone out. She's actually got a picture with her name on it. So any case, that picture that they sent, you're kind of dead center.
That's the one in the post office. Oh, no.
No, that's a different one. That's a different one. But Lieutenant Dunn was very happy. They had a goal of 100 installations and they got 101. They went into 40 homes, making things safer. It was well received by the community. Also want to thank Worthington Hills Civic for getting involved and helping push out the information. They got some volunteers that way, is my understanding. And when we do this in the future, I would very much like to try and get the civics and HOAs in the areas to to help find those volunteers, because although there's a lot of volunteers from the Red Cross, they still typically need 30 to 40 of additional folks to make this happen, so.
And I mean, the only thing I think of is that maybe we hold the prep meeting, and if we were to do it in Worthington Hills, I thought, yeah, we'd hold it at the club or the school or something, that we could have them kind of not have to go to Worthington to come back to
Right,
Worthington Hills. That's just a thought.
yeah, I
But it
think,
was
and that
a
kind of,
fantastic event.
yeah, that came out last minute, but that was
Yeah.
definitely something on our check sheet to see if we can do. The one I participated in for Brookside, it was the same thing. You went to the fire department and
Right.
came back and
Right.
so on and so forth. But it is a wonderful event, and we really thank Worthington Fire to make sure Prairie Township's always included in those sorts of things.
Police department.
I think that we had, as Mr. Cheney said, we had the yard sales this past weekend in Worthington Hills, and our mounted patrol and Officer Wade were there. All three were very popular. We have tomorrow the Bobcat Walk in Brookside, and our mounted patrol will be there to escort and the kids to the neighborhood.
Cool. Awesome. Madam Administrator.
Under old business, unless you have any updates on the 161 Linworth chat, I don't have anything new. Same with facilities. Under new business, we already worked through the civilian advisory board. Other than, I would be kind of curious to know if y'all are interested in pursuing this further, or if there's any other information you would need in order to take it under consideration.
You know, I just went back to, I thought, didn't we target March 1st or something like that to have something regarding it? I mean, we talked about it back, I think in December, and we said, well, how much, you know, what's the live date? And I think we had said March 1st, so I was
Well,
in
if you're
the
good to go
assumption.
with it, I think
Yeah.
we sent out, to give a sense of interest, we had sent out letters,
Yeah, I did get some feedback.
got some feedback.
I mean, the only thing that, you know, and I get Genoa, and I think I voiced this. I mean, Genoa is 27,000, their operating budget is 28 million.
Right.
We're 4,200, and, you know, I can't remember what our number is, but we're about a quarter of it. I mean, it's equal to. So, you know, to me, it's like, you know, I think we got a good board that works well together. I think we got great, you know, department heads. So, you know, I think facilities would be one of those things to get an outside thing, but outside of that, I mean, I don't know, is it one of those things where, you know, you have this group, or do we have a group that when the township needs things to discuss, that's when we bring them in? But I mean, we're not complicated, and I don't know if this is, like, I could see Genoa needing that because there's a lot of moving parts in a township that size, and there's only 3 township trustees. You know, we're not complicated, and that's my only thing on this, is that do we really, I mean, we've got strong civic associations that we are actively involved in and all that other good stuff. So again, I don't know if it's a group that, you know, as we're looking at the facilities, you know, whether we renovate or, you know, another option, that we just bring in a group that's like helps us through this whole thought process of facilities. And then, you know, we call them back when we need something, but an active group that they're meeting once a month. I don't know if there's gonna be a whole lot that they're gonna need to be meeting on.
I really think, you know, if they meet every other month, that may even be, depending on what they have on their plate.
I was thinking, I
think
guess,
Andy-
because of the size, I guess I was thinking more of a quarterly meeting,
So
but
I think quarterly would be perfect. It's just enough to keep you sort of engaged, but it doesn't become overbearing.
Right.
I still think though, like, you know, I mean, obviously, we're not as big as Genoa Township, but, you know, we have they have a police department. Yeah,
They do.
They have
Yeah.
police and fire, but
Yes,
we have the same, even though it's bigger, you know, we still have sort of the same police concerns and little things like cameras and all that. I think if you started out with something like, you would sort of advertise it as, we're looking for maybe 8 to 12 members. I think it'd be nice to get somebody that's like a business owner in the township on there. I think you have a slot for each, like the EPCON, the head of their board, that, in Worthington Hills and Brookside. So there's 3 right there. Maybe you have somebody from, 1 or 2 businesses, and then 4 or 5 ad hoc people. But I think when you would advertise this, so to speak, you'd be looking for probably at least 8, and probably no more than 12 or so. I mean, that could be flexible, but, again, I would think you would need 2/3 for like a quorum. So if you had 8 to 12, that's sort of a natural number to have a 2/3 number. And it's not that much of a commitment if you meet quarterly. It's a volunteer type thing.
But you look at the facilities part of it and how much, to meet quarterly on the facilities, I don't know if they would be up to speed. Like, there's
Well,
too
for
much
something
time.
like
So I'm
that,
like saying, like,
you might need to have them in
Yeah,
a little
the
more.
ramp up, push them on that.
But if kind of like, if nothing's happening, if they meet quarterly, they might say, there's really nothing we need to bring to the board. They might say, you know what, this, like the camera thing, which I still think is pretty intriguing. How do we do something like that? They might, I'm just thinking of police issues. Geez, why don't we have body cameras, and should we look into that? And then maybe some of that stuff's kind of fun too, like, if you do get new uniforms for your police officers, oh, we'd like a say in what those look like. We've changed our cars, I think, 4 times since I've been here. We went from, black and white to, the Adam 12 looking to,
Yeah, we
all
had-
black to blue or something, I think at the
Well,
very
we had-
beginning.
Black to gold when I started. We switched to the black, blue, and silver.
Right.
Then we went to black and white.
But, involve them
Yeah.
on stuff like little things like that, I don't know. I just think that you have to start out small, but I think the immediate need would be for, regardless of what we do here, like, renovating or whatever, I'd really like to get some input on from them. I don't think it takes the heat off you, but it does take the heat off a little bit if they tell us, hey, look, the Civic Association people and business owners are telling us, we think we'd like to see something like this in a new township hall. When you support that, it's not like we're doing what they're not taking our place by any means, but it's nice to get a little finger on the pulse kind of thing, what others are thinking.
What do you think? I know it's volunteer thing. What if we were to say we have a group of 9? I'd like an odd number. Except for facilities, I can't think, there might be something else out there, but if there's nothing else going on, then they meet quarterly.
Right.
But for facilities, Andy's right, you're gonna have to get them up to speed, first of all. So that's gonna take more than a quarterly meeting. And then that's gonna be an ongoing thing. So when you get over that hump, perhaps then it reverts to quarterly, but maybe the group can make that determination about how much we're giving them, how much they're asking from us in questions and that kind of, and make a determination how frequently they can work. I just think, I agree. I think there ought to be a slot for the 2 civic association presidents and the HOA on that board. In business, I think needs to be incorporated.
It's perhaps a non-resident business owner who doesn't live here, but has a business here.
Right.
There's some,
And then the rest is
Right.
community people that, I think that are, either outspoken in the community or well-known, kind of.
in a perfect world, you'd like to have somebody who's a member of Brookside Country Club, just because they have issues. Like to have somebody who's a member of Worthington Hills Country Club. Or somebody who's super involved, like in the PTA at both schools. That would be, if you had the PTA president for both schools, somebody who's on the board, if they live particularly too in the neighborhood, right there, we have Brookside Elementary, Brookside.
Maybe it's
schools.
11.
Right.
You get into it.
I think one of the things I'm looking at too, and I know Genoa used their word for this, is levies. Not necessarily like there's going to be new levies, but for example, since we really can't combine the road levy, there's a lot that goes into pushing information out and letting people know, and especially since we have the back-to-back, there's a lot more work that second year that I mean, we still have a reasonably small staff and it takes a lot of time.
Mhm.
And that time can't be spent during working hours. So, if staff's involved, it has to be outside of working hours. So I know that was one of their responsibilities was to help educate and bring information back and forth on that.
Well, how about I know we kind of blew Andy's time limit on the meeting, so I'm gonna make a record here, but I'd like to make a motion that we establish an 11-member community or civilian advisory board for Perry Township. And then if this passes, Beth, I'd like maybe put some more meat on the bones and a little bit more
Okay.
information for the board in 2 weeks and see where we go from there.
Just so you know, the information that Genoa provided that he was talking about, it's in your Dropbox, their manual and such, so it kind of goes through that process.
I think it'd be real easy to push this out, really like 2 or 3 paragraphs, what we're looking for. Yeah.
I already have 3 people interested in that. So, yeah. Okay, good deal. All right.
But I need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we need to make a motion on that, or are we?
Well,
just-
to create a board,
To
you
create a board.
need a motion to create a board
Okay,
of, you're gonna say
This is a non-paying, this is
up to 11 people, community advisory board.
it's voluntary in nature.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll second that,
Okay, thank you.
vote,
yes.
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 Okay, strategic planning, I think, I know Ian's got his very nicely put together, so he's volunteered to do mine and Steve's. Because he did such a great job. But in any case, I know June was a very difficult meeting month for everybody, so if you could all just look at your calendars, not necessarily now, but I was like to get maybe the 2nd or 3rd week in July. And start that process, and we'll just do one at a time, but I would like to get the information to you ahead of time, so if there's any tweaking that needs to be done before you actually sit down at the table, things that you need us to add or revise, then at least we have that time to do it, so the meeting will be, that time will be well spent.
So, does everybody have irons? Is that in the Dropbox anywhere?
Not yet,
Okay.
no, but I'll get that shared with everybody.
So as screwy as my June is, July is wide open.
Okay, good.
So June just was not good. Too much going on.
I mean, July, I think will be okay. I just gotta look at it. It's much easier to look at my big calendar at work rather
No,
than
that's
scrolling
fine,
here.
that's
But
fine. I'll
you know,
just-
my schedule unfortunately is set by courts and other attorneys, and I've got things on my calendar in 2024, so I need more than like usually a month or 2.
Okay.
To find open dates.
Fair enough.
So can we do this virtually?
We can, yeah, certainly. And kind of in line with the strategic planning, since Mr. Oper was kind enough to go to the ORC to find out all of my duties. One is providing reports to the board, the financial reports. So I need to fine tune things a little bit more, how I'm pulling the information, so it's easy for you all to look at. But I do have just a sample snapshot I have all of 2021 completely completed with a snapshot, all the data. But I do want to let you all know, if you need to dig in further, what those reports are going to look like for you. I'm finishing up the general fund, and then I'm going to jump right straight into first quarter 2022. So my goal is to start providing you at minimum a quarterly report, but my best goal is to every month at the end of each month. And then that should tie into your strategic planning and the budget and that sort of thing. The last thing I wanted to remind everybody, and Mary, if you could have Luke start pushing this out to folks, is that our very next Board of Trustee meeting will start at 6 p.m. versus 6:30 p.m. So I think that's June 6th is our our first meeting. in
What, you can do
June.
6 a.m.? You're good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
At 6 a.m.
I'm not.
We'll be rolling out of bed.
Okay,
Can we get it before?
Get it before.
all right, and that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Rumpke contract addendum.
Oh, why, thank you very much
Yes.
for that. Yes. Before you, there is an addendum submitted for to extend the Rumpke contract by 1 year. The terms were very similar, obviously, weekly trash recycling and yard waste pickup. The cost of totes remained the same. The cost would be $20.37 starting July 1st, 2022. That would run till June 30th, 2023. So we felt, and that include the fuel surcharges that they're allowed to get. I think though, Chet, you had something you would like to.
Yeah, I mean, so I can't vote on this, but if you give Beth authorization to sign this, I'd like to hold off until through Thursday of this week before we sign it to possibly get a better deal. This is a 7% increase.
This is a 7% increase.
What are they using for their baseline fuel number for this, you know?
The,
Do you know?
what is that chart?
I have a chart.
Because before,
Yes,
you know, I mean, obviously fuel basically double what it was last year. at this
it's a
time.
consumer's. Is it the CPI, Consumer's Price Index?
CPI, and yeah, if they're doing the surcharge like everybody
But it
else.
was based strictly on fuel though, so it's not
I'm sorry,
really.
they're based on the Department of Energy's Energy Information Administration, DOE/DIA.
Right, but there's still like a number for that, so like that number, let's just assume it's $20 a month, right? And that's based upon the fuel charge, right now, it's like, honest to God, it's like $4.29 every gas station.
Yes.
So is that what the number is, and a year from now, if gas goes back to, you know, whatever, $2.50 a gallon,
Then
which
it
is-
drops,
then it drops.
then it drops.
You know, rather than, it was 20, but that was based on $2.50 a gallon, and now it's $4.29, so it's really gonna be 22 or 23 all of a sudden.
My understanding is that they've made those changes quarterly,
Mhm,
based on the
they
bill.
do,
Okay.
Okay,
under our current
okay, because I don't
contract,
see the bill, so
yeah.
you should see that variation.
Well, like I said, we gotta, you know, I know we get the bill like in March, and we do get it quarterly, I think we get our next one in June, but I remember the March one, it was like, wow, I thought it was gonna jump up because the fuel prices, but it really didn't jump up that much.
Right,
I think it's probably going off the diesel. I mean, diesels went up quite a bit, but not like the unleaded.
right.
Yeah,
Well, the other piece to it too is I would have to assume they're calculating in is during the whole COVID thing, especially, and you know, everybody's still experiencing staffing shortages. But I know Rumpke, because I have it in the area where I live, they were bringing people in town, putting people up in hotels to get out there, you know, so there were some unusual expenditures that I'm sure they had to push out, but the contract amount for 21-22 was $18.92. So, and now it's 2037, which again is the 7%.
Yeah, my bill in March came out to $28.58 a month. It was $57.15, I just looked it up.
It was $1 a day.
$57.15 that was for a quarter, and that was for January, February, and March. So we'll get our next one like June, it'll be due middle of June.
We have not had substantial issues. service
No,
issues.
well, as you all saw with the survey Luke sent out, the feedback was very, very, very good. There were very few concerns so far as people satisfaction. It was, they're there, and they've been very good too. If we do have an issue, someone calls in, helping us out. We did have a personnel change. It took us a little bit of time to figure out who our go-to was, but we have that information now. But So again, I would ask for a motion to approve the addendum as submitted between Perry Township Board of Trustees and Rumpke of Ohio, Inc. And authorize the township administrator to execute the document on the board's behalf after, which would be after Thursday.
What is Thursday? 18th,
19.
19th?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Vote?
yeah.
Yes.
I
Thank you very
understand.
much.
Okay, fiscal officer, looks like motion to approve payroll and disbursements. I will make that motion.
Second,
Vote?
yeah.
Yes. And then we got executive session. I move to enter into executive session. Executive session by roll call vote to consider appointment or composition of a public employee. By roll call vote.
Oh, Mr. English.
Yes.
Mr. Cheney,
Yes.
Mr. Roper.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We got
We're
ready.
not going.
That's what I didn't know.